Welcome to another edition of the Daily Deuce. I'm Gary Graves from just outside cold, snowy Louisville, Kentucky. And in Maryland, the land of pleasant living, is my longtime friend, esteemed colleague, wonderful basketball coach, and molder of young men, John Webster. John, how are you doing this glorious day?
Doing all right, Gary. As always, I say you're too kind with your compliments. Um, you're having rough weather in Kentucky. Jesse, myself, and John Pitt, we're having rough weather here in Maryland.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Y'all getting rain or y'all getting snow there too?
Getting snow. Matter of fact, um, snow to the point where they have already canceled school for tomorrow in Montgomery County.
Mm-hmm.
And we aren't to tomorrow yet. We're still on today.
Mm-hmm.
So, but hey to everybody in the audience. Great to have you here. We're having a show for the aftermath of the Super Bowl. First thing I'm going to do before we get into the champs, say hey to our main man, John Pitt. John Pitt, how you doing, man?
To be honest, I'm still a little bit in shock. How are you guys doing?
Doing
I'm
great.
happy. The team I wanted to win won, and they won the way that I hoped that they would, convincingly, which was a surprise. But we'll get into that.
Hey, John. We know that you made an announcement last week that you officially are no longer a Dallas Cowboy fan. You are a Kansas City Chief fan. Would that allegiance still be intact, or are you back on the block searching for another organization to root for?
Yes, that allegiance is still intact. I trust this organization to fix what they need to get back.
I,
Okay.
I agree. Hey, yeah, I'm
So
with them on that. They'll be back.
we just heard it from John Pitt, the Kansas City Chiefs' new number one fan. Now, without further ado, let's get to the champ and the Philadelphia Eagles' number one fan, the one, the only, the Reverend Dr. Jesse Clay. Jesse,
Yes, sir.
congratulations, and how are you doing, man?
Well, first of all, I'm so glad that you had me on the show today. I'm feeling pretty good still. We're still basking in the afterglow of such a trouncing, shocking beatdown of the two-time NFL champions. And the Philadelphia Eagles are bringing back the Lombardi Trophy to the East Coast. All Giant fans, all Dallas fans, all Commanders fans can come up and check it out. They're not too far away and see what it looks like.
Gary, I see Jesse is not short on words today, and the hyperbole is just amazing.
Oh, yeah, but I'm going to give him some dap. He earned it. They earned it for him. I mean, enjoy it because often Jesse on this show, when we talk about any sport and any power teams, any contenders, we always talk about how that window is very limited for winning a championship. And I remember John Webster saying this after the Eagles lost 2 years ago, that he didn't think Hurts and the Eagles were going to get back there because I think it was some stat that first time Super Bowl quarterbacks or quarterbacks that lose their first appearance in the Super Bowl don't get back. And I remember seeing that somewhere else. So not only did they get back, but they closed the deal, and they closed the deal convincingly. And really, as a recently retired sports writer who covered the NFL, I'm happy for Jalen Hurts on a number of levels just because of what he has endured. How even with being MVP, I think one year that there were still doubts about whether he could get a team one to a Super Bowl and then, over the top, even though 2 years ago he was the best daggone player on the field. So for him to not necessarily be, a dominant player, but be a factor, so much that he got the MVP. Myself, I would have given it to the defense, the entire defense, and I don't think I'll get in the argument on that, but knowing how some writers vote on those things, the quarterback is the glamour position. But I mean, I don't want to hear anything more from anybody about Jalen Hurts can't get it done, because not only did he get it done, he got it done without having to be dominant. I mean, by being a factor to account, to be accounted for at all times, but he didn't have to dominate the game. And in a sense, he did dominate the game because of what he did with his feet and with his arm, and especially with what he has up here, because he made, other than the interception, which I just think he just rushed that one, he really played a very, very smart game and really took a lot of the burden, I would say, that I think Saquon Barkley faced, or maybe the spotlight is a better word for it, because KC was so geared up to try to stop Saquon Barkley that they forgot they had to limit him. They had to limit Jalen Hurts, and he still hurt him in so many ways. But all that is due to the defense, and I'll let you take over from here. I'm done.
That's
Jesse, what do you think some of the points to the victory are? What do you think led to this victory?
Well, first of all, as Gary has said so eloquently, the defense came to play. And when you are able to have 7 defensive players back in the backfield waiting for passes and only needing 4, I say 4 linemen to wreak havoc on the offensive line of the opposing team, you have to have your hats off to the defense. I agree, the defense probably could have been MVPs. If they had enough MVP trophies at the time, they would then have gotten it. But since the quarterback, I would say probably 99% of the time, if not 100, always gets the MVP, they're always the one who walks off the field and says, "Where are you going?" "I'm going to Disneyland." Hurts definitely deserved it. I believe Hurts is a gamer, which means that when the game is on the line, he's going to find a way to win it. So I think Hurts played a very pivotal role, but I also believe that there's a couple other players that play pivotal roles as well. One being Saquon Barkley, because although he didn't get a lot of yards, he ran the ball and made them pay attention to him. And every time he had the ball, they had at least 6 guys up there on the line waiting for him to come. So it's amazing that he even got the number of yards that he got.
You mentioned Saquon Barkley. He didn't get, well, I think he had 20-some carries for about 57, 58 yards. I think that's roughly what he had. But one of the things I also noticed about Barkley, he was making some really key blocks with some of the blitzes that Kansas City was bringing, made some key receptions as well. I was just really impressed. They stopped him from a running standpoint, but he was still doing other things that were very important to this win.
Yeah, I mean, it was like 97, yards from scrimmage. So, all of which were huge factors.
Yeah. The other one is Dotson, the wide receiver.
The former commander.
The former commander. He had a couple of key catches there in that game. Catches that if he didn't catch the ball may have kind of changed the outlook of the game. And, he had not caught many passes throughout the year. He came there in the beginning of the year. And for a long time, I'm not sure if they even targeted him. But he made two key passes, two key catches in the game that I believe kept the outcome of the game the way that it was going. So the defense, um, Barkley, Hurts, and of course, our receivers are top notch. So they're supposed to catch touchdown passes. But Dotson, man, boy, what catches he caught were amazing. That's how the offensive line. Uh, I thought that they would be able to open up more holes, but then again, I think they did their best up against the dedicated defensive line against Saquon. They were not going to allow him to win the game and cause the game to be won by the Eagles. They did a good job on him.
I knew Philly's offensive line was big, but I didn't realize how big they were until they gave an average size of 6'6" and 330 pounds. That's just a mammoth front line.
Average.
Yeah, I think they did a wonderful job. They allowed Hurts to have time to throw. Another thing Hurts did, which I think was really well, there were times where everybody was covered and he took the ball down and just ran because the middle of the field was open. They didn't really have somebody shadowing him or tailing him like I thought they would. So he had a lot of open land to run.
72 yards.
Yeah. He played a great game. I'm happy for him. Glad he was able to get this chance. Glad they, as a team, they all work really hard to get to this point. Quite a game. You mentioned something earlier. 16 rushes or pressures. And Gary, let me know if I'm saying this right. 16 pressures, 6 sacks, no blitzes,
and 2 interceptions. One including a pick 6.
Cooper DeJean.
Yeah.
Cooper.
And I mean, Baum basically looked like Jack Squarick out there. With laying out for that interception. And, when you were talking about all the things that Philly did, the term that came to mind was complementary football. You got it from all phases. I mean, you're the kicker kicked 4 field goals in the Super Bowl. And I'm going to say, that doesn't happen that often, but it really doesn't happen that often. And by contrast, the Chiefs kicker never got on the field. Harrison Butker never got on the field.
Gary and Jesse as well. When is the last time you saw a Kansas City team that had no points and 1 first down for an entire half?
I can't recall. I mean, that's one, and I haven't read all the stories on the just wrapping up what the Chiefs did, but I'm sure it's going to be researched because and stats are just a fingertip away. I think from the start they looked discombobulated by what Philly was doing, especially up front, because I think in a sense they underestimated Philly's front 4 and the kind of pressure that they could apply. And I remember thinking 2 years ago when when they drafted the two guys out of Georgia, and I just thought, oh my God, they just stole two guys that are going to put them over the top, and basically they did. I want to say it was Jalen Carter was one name that came to mind. But I mean, you talk about two guys coming off of a national championship team at Georgia. They get drafted by the Eagles, and here they are 2 years later, hoisting a Super Bowl trophy and getting fitted for oversized rings. Again, I really don't think that Kansas City expected that kind of pressure from just four guys. I think they expected blitzes, and in a way, they really Philly. I don't know if you could say they disguised it with four guys, but it was really misleading with four-man fronts that they got that kind of pressure, and the coverage, of course, had to be there. Several of those sacks were coverage sacks, which says something about the coverage. And to John's point, one first down in the first half, no points, one first down, and I just thought, I don't care how many times they have the ball in the second half. There's a point where you just do the math on how many possessions you think a team's going to get in a game. And I think when it got to like, what was it, 34-0 or something like that, that I just said, this it's a wrap. It's a wrap. I don't care how many touchdowns they can score. It was a wrap because they just really ran out of possessions in time, before the third quarter was over.
When did it become a wrap for you, Jesse? When did you look and say, there's no way they're coming back now?
Well, I've been an Eagle fan since 1966. I've seen the Eagles squander leads. Although they come back and maybe win, I've seen them make it so that you're sitting on the edge of your seat. So when it got down to the fourth quarter, and the score was, I think it was 30, I want to say 37 to 14. I started feeling, I sat back and started just chilling. And I can't remember. I think that the last time I seen such a domination of defense was when the Chicago Bears played the Patriots.
Wow.
And they killed them. I remember after that game, I decided that I was going to be watching the Super Bowl at my own house because I was ready to change the channel.
Hey, Jesse, you're a man after my own heart because I like watching the games by myself because I just want to see a game. I don't want to see commercials. I just want to see the game. I leave that. I don't want to digress into my old man philosophies on that kind of stuff. But
talk about that off air.
Yeah. Well, you already know what I'm going to say, Gary.
Oh yeah.
When at halftime, I believe at halftime it was it 24-0.
Yep.
The in the pit of my stomach, it was churning. I mean, it was up by 24 points, but my stomach was churning because I was like, don't let these guys come out on the second half. I've seen it before. Tom Brady did it to Atlanta.
Yeah.
I think it was 25, whatever it was.
Yeah.
Well, it was 28-3. It was 28-3.
All it takes is one touchdown. And then you have an interception, and next thing you know, the score's getting closer, and everybody's getting tight, and it becomes a problem where the fans are now sitting on the edge of their seats again. My family and a few others have a text line for Philadelphia Eagles. And when things start going wrong, they start texting. But nobody texts, 24-0. They came out, and when they had that first series in the second half, and they went out 3 3 and out, I said, "Whoa, we might have something here."
Yeah,
And
I pretty much slammed the door on them when Hurts threw the bomb to Devontae Smith. I think that made
That
it.
was the kill shot.
Yeah, I think
yeah,
that was
that
34
was
nothing
killer.
because the announcers were saying okay, are they going to set up for like a field goal or are they going to go for it? And here Hurts does. He drops back and Devontae Smith was on a go route and he just went. So
Yeah.
here's the question for you, Jesse. You just won the championship. You are the Super Bowl champs. Where do you go from here? What do you need in the off season? What key players may you lose? What key players would you like to see come to Philadelphia? And let me be clear, Jaden Daniels is not on the block, so let's be clear about that.
They don't need Jaden Daniels.
We don't need Jaden, but I do like Jaden. I like Jaden.
Everybody likes Jaden.
Yeah, I like Jaden. He's smooth, he's confident, and he loves the Lord. So I like Jaden, and he had a good game too.
Yes, he did.
The rest of his team didn't have a good game, but that's okay. We
Yeah,
ain't talking
we don't have to go back over that one, Jesse.
But you know,
I still struggle with that.
yeah. But you know, since you referenced that game, and now that they've won the Super Bowl, now you can see a pattern of what they did in the postseason that explains really how they got there. Um, that defense really took teams out of the game. The NFC Championship was probably, from my standpoint, one where I'd say even without the two first half fumbles that basically gave them gave them the game, but they continued to smell blood after that. I mean, they just kept their foot on the gas, and I forgot what point I turned it off. I was listening to it on the radio, and I was just like, oh my God, it's just like call the dogs off Philly, because they just kept at it. But if you look at the Green Bay game, then you look at the Washington game, and now the Super Bowl. I mean, that was the pattern, and of course, it helped to have Barkley, with that dominating performance really in both playoff games. That he was such a threat that I think they were so focused on him that they forgot about the other guy, and the other guy included all the stars. I mean, everybody got to eat on that offense in that game. Everybody on defense got to eat in that game, and
Sure did.
and I'll just say it was probably the most complete performance I've ever seen any team do in a Super Bowl against a two-time defending champion.
Yeah.
So where do you go from here, Jesse?
Well, we Monte Sweat, his contract is up. He had a 1-year contract. They had problems last year with Hassan Reddick and Monte Sweat. They were going to let him. They were trying to figure out which one to let go. I still don't understand why they let Hassan Reddick go, but Monte Sweat, he's going to get the money. So if they need to pay him the money. Brandon Graham, he doesn't know exactly what he's going to do. He got 15 years in. He said that he could walk out and be happy because he's got 2 rings. But I think he might come back because now he's understanding that he could possibly get 3 rings. So we got Brandon Graham. I think I believe Slay is going to come back. He don't have to, but I believe he probably come back because he too wants to try to get. Let me see. Did he get I can't remember if he was on that. No, he wasn't on that team. So he wants to get another ring. On offense, I think we are pretty set. The lines are pretty set. Our receivers, well, they are still good. They still under contract. And Goddard, he's still under contract. Um, so I think what we're going to be looking at, of course, if I can't remember, what's the guy from Cleveland that um,
Miles Garrett.
Miles Garrett. If Miles Garrett wants to leave Cleveland. We heard that he wants to come to Philly. I know that a lot of other teams are interested in him coming to their team, particularly the Commanders. Um, but we got several defensive linemen who are interested in coming to Philly because they saw what happened. And they say that if you can do that with 4 men, well, then make me one of those 4 men. We can rotate and we can have 6 men, 7 men. You know, if they can make the contract money work, that'd be great. I mean, you know, that's the whole name of the game right now is do we have the money? But I think those are the only ones. I understood that there's one of the linebackers may be looking to leave, but doesn't matter. We got a couple of linebackers waiting. Trotter.
How long is your deals with Devontae Smith and AJ Brown? How much more time do they have on their contracts?
I think AJ has another year. I think Devontae might have 2.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah.
And Barkley has what, a couple of years left on his? Was
Yeah,
he a free
Barkley
agent or was that a trade? I can't remember. That was a free agent move,
there's a
right?
free agent. Yeah, he has a couple of years.
Okay.
I don't think he's interested in moving on because he's got that front line who they are all intact. I believe 2 of them. You see the guard, the 2 guards. They signed them this year to multi-year contracts. So the front the offensive line is intact. It's going to be there for next year, and I don't know. Some of them might be getting a little old, but they have several several options on the defense. And then you got your plug and play guys, the guys who come in off the bench, and I'm not sure exactly what their stances are, but we have a pretty solid team. I can't believe that we're going to run it back with the same players. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think that happens anymore in the NFL. So
that's a fair statement. I mean,
yeah,
it's very hard to keep a team intact. You try to keep your core.
keep your core.
I think, I mean, you look at Philadelphia. They're a very good team from top to bottom.
And they get better because
Now
they're playing against the best.
Now there's one key departure we haven't touched on. We need to touch on this. I need to know how you're going to fix this hole. Kellen Moore signed today as the new coach of the New Orleans Saints. So who's going to be the next offensive coordinator? Or will you tell me it doesn't matter? Hurts and company were on autopilot, and it doesn't matter who the offensive coordinator is.
No, I'm not going to say that. Because we proved last year that you need experienced coordinators. We proved the year before that, when we went to the Super Bowl, that you need experienced coordinators. And both years we lost, I believe, because our coordinators were not experienced enough to come up with a strategy to slow down Kansas City in the Super Bowl, because they did whatever they wanted in the second half. Last year, when we went 10-1 and lost the next 6 or 7 games, had no answer because our coordinators were not experienced. They were talking about that today, whether or not they were going to go out and try to bring somebody in, which of course means that there's going to be a new language for Jalen Hurts and the rest of the offense, or whether or not they were going to bring in the guy who was let me see, what is he? I can't remember what he is. I guess he's the quarterback's coach. Make him the offensive coordinator, and he would keep basically the same game plan as that we've been using. But, we don't know what his experience is. I don't know who he is. So the question is that's a good question, because it matters who you have as a coordinator. You got to have somebody when what you're doing isn't working. That's the problem that Andy Reid had this year, and that's the same problem he had when he was with the Eagles. I can't change what I'm doing. We just keep doing what we're doing, and hopefully it'll work. And we need somebody who can think out of the box when things ain't going good.
Well, Jesse, Gary is always another fast-moving 30 minutes. Nothing but congratulations to you, Jesse. Fly, Eagle, fly. That's what I'll say. The jersey looks wonderful on you. The hat looks great on you. Friday, I think that guy is Randall Cunningham. What do you think, Gary?
Oh yeah, that's old school. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Now
yes,
Friday, Jesse, are you going to Philadelphia for the parade?
Well, I went to the parade last time. I got there at 9:00. I stood around until 2:00. I was so tired. I was so cold. I was so hungry. I went home. In fact, I was 100 feet away from the buses that were rolling down the street on their way to the Museum of Art. And I couldn't recognize a single person. But it was wonderful to be there and see all those Eagle fans. Matter of fact, we were standing like this, couldn't even move. If you wanted to move, you had to say, "Excuse me, can I get by?" That's how many Eagle fans were there.
Mm-hmm.
This year, though, it's going to be on Friday, and I'm going to be in Africa. So I'm not going to be able to get to that one. But I had already decided that I wasn't going to go because you got to get up there early. There's nowhere to sit. It's going to be cold. They don't have any food options there. So, I'm 7 years older. I think I'm going to stay home. Okay, I'm going to stay home. It's too bad that in Africa, they don't even know anything about the Super Bowl. So it's not going to be on TV. But that's all right. I can watch it when I come back. And I can watch it right on YouTube. I got it on my phone. I watch it on YouTube and just watch what's going on. So, no, I won't be there this year, unfortunately.
Gary, go ahead and take us home, man.
Yep. Well, Jesse, we thank you for coming in again and giving us your perspective on a wonderful Eagles victory. We hope to see you again, I guess, in August, talking from some far-flung place about what you think about their chances of repeating. And folks, I just want to say the Super Bowl is done, but NBA is still going on. We've got the Daytona 500. coming up on Sunday, and I don't know if we'll be able to talk about that as much as we will the NBA because there's a lot going on in LA and Dallas and Philly and Miami and well, just about all the contenders. Now we're hitting that All-Star break point, which gives rise to the stretch run. So there's going to be a lot to talk about, especially with the Lakers. So, folks,
with the Sixers too. With the Sixers too, and Joe Embiid, whether or not he's going to have his act together.
Oh yeah, yep. I forgot about that too. Yeah, that's always that's a 30-minute discussion in itself. There's plenty of sports to watch, folks. Come on back and see us. We're here. You came here to see us, so we'll talk about it. John, another great week. I'll see you next week.
Thanks
Hey,
for having
Gary, thank you for everything. Jesse, thank you as well.
Thank you.
Another great week in sports. Y'all watching sports this week? Yeah, football season's over, right? NFL season's over right now. But keep in mind, we still got the NBA. They had some unbelievable trades and player movement last week that Gary and I are going to talk about on the next show. Watching college basketball. Auburn came up short this week, but they're still number one. South Carolina lost their first game in women's basketball in SEC play. They have a 57-game win streak. They got it snapped. My standby, my favorites, my heart. Notre Dame is number 2 in the country in the women's basketball. We're going to talk about that as well. But above all else, you watch some sports and come back and see us soon. Take care.